We want people to be able to sleep at night with the understanding that they can do self-custody without screwing it up and without having to worry that there's a weakness somewhere, or that one thing might go wrong and be catastrophic. So that's everything that we're doing, is to put people into an architecture that eliminates single points of failure, because we understand things go wrong, humans make mistakes, and you don't want to be in a really brittle setup where one thing going wrong results in you losing all of your assets.
Lopp, you've been in Bitcoin for a long time. You're a cybersecurity expert. From your vantage point, from where we are today, do you think self-custody, or rather the idea of people self-custodying, do you think that's going to improve, or will this always be a niche idea for the like average mainstream layman?
I suspect that in relative terms, as we go more mainstream, that the vast majority of adoption will happen through trusted third parties. I think that's just the reality of the situation, at least in our lifetimes. The problem here, it really is, I think, cultural, and it's a result of how human civilization has developed over millennia, is that we have created these economic powerhouses that have been able to leverage extreme efficiency and performance gains through specialization of tasks. And so we've created these systems where you're outsourcing the vast majority of the important aspects of your lives to third-party specialists, because they're going to be better at doing something than you are if you had to do everything yourself. Like, this is why it's so much easier and efficient for us to go to the grocery store than it is to grow our own food and slaughter our own animals. However, while that's convenient and it's efficient, it is also fragile. It's creating all of these potential points of failure, such that if the supply chains for food and delivery of important medicines and other physical items broke down, we'd be in pretty dire straits within a week or two with the way that modern society is architected. So that similar thing basically trickles down to where we are with self-custody. People who have bank accounts are used to the idea of having all of their money in a trusted third party who's managing it for them. And so this is, as a result, is kind of a cultural issue where I suspect that it could take generations for us to kind of reverse course on that and really teach our children and our grandchildren to take responsibility for some of these extremely important aspects of their lives.
Totally. Yeah, I very much agree that it's a culture issue. Now, you did kind of mention about businesses and Bitcoin treasuries. So as someone that is working on a Bitcoin treasury product, how big of a product or a problem do you think that these honeypots are, like Coinbase and et cetera, in the space right now? We know a lot of the Bitcoin ETFs are all custodied essentially at the same companies. And obviously it's your kind of life motto here. Your life purpose is to obviously distribute that security away from these honeypots. So how big of an issue do you think this is? And is this something that you think, that keeps you up at night? Do you think we might see another, I don't know, exchange blow up? Like, what's your thoughts on that perspective?
Well, I mean, look at what happened last week, right? Like, it's not stopping. I mean, we are improving security best practices, but security is a cat and mouse game. It's a never ending battle. And so as this ecosystem continues to grow and the total value of the ecosystem grows, and then the total value of the single points of failure honeypot custodians continues to grow, then that means that the attackers are incentivized to spend even more resources trying to find the weaknesses in them, because the payoff of a successful attack is also growing. So, I think that in terms of risk, it's better to distribute risk across millions of different points, such that, if the average individual has a failure and their self-custody gets successfully attacked, yes, it could be very bad for that individual, but there's no ripple effects across the rest of the ecosystem where you don't have like one failure causing hundreds of thousands or millions of people to lose their money instantaneously, and then you don't have the economic pressure, as we talked about earlier, of $1 billion worth of liquidity trying to be extracted from the system as quickly as possible by the attackers.
So Lopp, we have a it seems like we have a Casa user in the chat. So I don't know how to pronounce that. Opti, you want to give it a go?
Psycho
05 says, Lopp, can we have foundation and cold cards for signing devices? I haven't used Casa because we get sent treasures.
We support both of those devices, and you can either buy them for yourself off the shelf, or it really depends on like which tier you're at. I think we only really offer the customization of hardware at the private client tier, if I recall correctly. But you can definitely buy any of our supported devices. We support the Cold Card Mark IV and the Q, both seem to work pretty well, as well as Foundation Passport. It just it depends on if you prefer doing the QR code based signing or not, and that can be a bit tricky. I have several articles about multi-sig performance testing of signing really large data size transactions.
Yeah, and let me ask you something else, Lopp. So maybe in the chat, this applies, right? And the reason that I love the Casa product is, again, it makes the whole self-custody aspect easy without sacrificing convenience. And I think you guys have mastered the UI. Your UI is incredible. It even has a little haptic tick to make you feel good when you sign something, right? And I think that makes it very easy for someone that perhaps is transitioning from the fiat standard, the fiat matrix, to a Bitcoin standard where they're taking self-custody. And it kind of gives them the same vibe of, oh, this is like a bank, but it's not a bank because it's self-custody. So you guys cover a lot of the complexities there. What would your pitch be to someone like, hey, look, I already have a single sig and I'm using a passport, I'm using a cold card, and, I have Sparrow, why should I use Casa?
Oh, look, if you are comfortable with using the totally free tools that are out there, then go for it. Nothing that we do can't be replicated by someone if you put in enough time and effort to do so. And in fact, if you want to try to replicate everything that we've done, I highly recommend that you look up our wealth security protocol. And that is several dozen pages explaining all of the threats that we're trying to mitigate and exactly what steps and decisions that we made in our architecture to mitigate those threats. But really, I think a lot of it comes down, as I said earlier, to convenience, to really providing a very simple user experience. On purpose, we do not offer a lot of the more advanced functionality that you can do with Bitcoin. And that's because we think that it's actually kind of dangerous. It could be a foot gun in the hands of an unsophisticated user. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to build a super high security, cold storage setup that eliminates single points of failure and is accessible to a non-technical user that may not know all of the ins and outs of the protocol and security best practices and such. So what you're really doing is you're saving yourself a lot of effort of having to learn all of those best practices and put them into place. But it's certainly possible to do it yourself. And I think that's one of the great things about Bitcoin. You don't need us to self-custody. We're really here to help you get into the best possible position as quickly and as easily as possible.
Need liquidity without having to sell your Bitcoin? For more than 6 years now, Ledn has been the trusted choice for Bitcoin-backed lending with transparency, security, and trust at their core. I absolutely love these guys, and I personally have not only an account with them, but also a loan. And some of the key features that I love about Ledn is the fact that there are no monthly payments. You pay at the end of the term. You also have the ability to roll over the loan as well, and you can pay it back whenever you want. Essentially, what they do is that they help their clients unlock the liquidity of their BTC, allowing you to HODL while still accessing the wealth of your Bitcoin. They've been battle tested with their focus on transparency, security, and trust, allowing them to build a proven track record of client success and security, helping tens of thousands of clients harness the value of their digital assets with confidence and peace of mind. Learn more about what your BTC can do for you. Check out Ledn.io today.